Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is Tim Torrod coming at you, and today is about midnight on Saturday, September 16th, 2017. And this is the first installment of my cooking on Backacre's Kitchen, where I want to hopefully do a lot of cooking videos, but also hopefully do some cooking for you. And so we are going to start out with some pork ribs. That is seasoned St. Louis style pork ribs from Costco. So we're going to get into the whole process from A to Z, and it should be interesting. Let's get into it. So as I say, these are St. Louis style pork ribs, and they come from Costco. They're already seasoned, so I don't have to do any of that. Now I want to point out that I am not a big fan of injections, marinades, and sauces. And the reason is, first of all, I cooked professionally for a year to year and a half at I believe 4 different establishments. And I also went to culinary school at Kazi, which is in Chesterland, Ohio. And when you cook, in almost all cooking, you want to develop a crispy exterior and a creamy interior. And in barbecue, that exterior is called, of course, called the bark. So when you add a wet sauce to the exterior of the meat, it's just going to take longer for that sauce to dry out and to develop that bark. And by that time, the interior of the meat can go dry as well. And some people call me crazy, but that's just pretty basic math. And until I see otherwise, that's how I'm going to see it. That adding that moisture is going to keep it wet. So now another thing is that these St. Louis style ribs, I did a little research on anatomy prior to doing this video, and I found that you could think of a hog as having the spine right here. And underneath the spine, you have the baby back ribs. Underneath the baby backs, you have the spares, which are going to come down and then across. And the cross portion is going to be the chest, protecting the vital organs. And the St. Louis style cut is going to come from the flat portion of the spare rib. So I also learned that St. Louis style ribs are typically grilled instead of smoked. Which of course takes less time. I'm a little bigger fan of smoking than I am of grilling, because barbecue just drives me wild. But we're gonna do some indirect smoking today, this morning. And we're gonna use charcoal. I do have some charcoal that I need to use up instead of using wood. The barbecue that I've done in the past is basically strictly wood because I love to go hardcore. Charcoal is going to be easier to maintain. It's going to be more reliable and potentially burn hotter than wood does. I can tell you that wood can take anywhere from 1 to 5 minutes to get going, depending upon how dry it is. And based on the videos that I've seen online, guys will get charcoal going with 1 sheet of newspaper and no additional lighter fluid, potentially lighter fluid in the charcoal itself. So we're going to get onto the smoker in just a minute. I'm going to spritz it down with some peanut oil, not only on the grates so that the ribs don't stick too much, but also on the rest of the interior of the unit for easier cleaning purposes. And I want to point out that my offset smoker or stick burner is a Charbroil, $160 on Amazon. You cannot beat it for the price. So we'll get out there in just a minute. Thanks. Okay folks, so here we have my smoker. As I say, it's a Charbroil. This is a nice cover that you can purchase for it on Amazon for cheap. Like $16 to $18. Okay, so I'm gonna take this off. Now, so here you have what's called the firebox. Okay, this is where your fuel goes, whether it be charcoal or wood. And then you have the cooking chamber or the cook chamber, whatever you want to call it. And then either the chimney or smokestack, whatever you want to call that. Okay. I've got four temperature gauges on here, thermometers. 3 of them are from Teltrue, and the other one is from Charbroil itself. Okay, this stuff, these thermometers, there's a little bit of dew on here due to the morning. And also you have a place for the air to come in and out. This is, I can't remember what this is called. It's called a damper, I believe. And you have to excuse me, but I'm right in the light of my truck's headlights to give us some more light here, so please bear with me. So this is the Charbroil offset smoker. As I say, you got the firebox and the cooking chamber, or cook chamber, and then the smokestack. And of course, you've got the traditional chimney or chimney starter, as it's called. And so because this is called a chimney starter, I'm going to call that a smokestack. And then we've got these fabulous gloves from Steven Reichlin. Steven Reichlin, you can see SR. He's got Project Smoke on PBS. He's an expert in barbecue. And so these are from him. Got them on Amazon for about 18 bucks. And then of course we have our charcoal. We got some paper to get going, lighter, and we've got the peanut oil in a spritz bottle. So I'm going to spritz this down now. Now we can get the coals going. Let's see if you... So, at this point, I think the coals are hot enough to put into the firebox. But first what I'm going to do is put basically a drip pan into the bottom of the smoker. To catch all those juices. So this smoker, like I say, is pretty nice. It's got all kinds of drip pan stuff, but I'm going to put this in here to make it very simple to clean up. Let's see. Put this right here. And we'll see how that works. So, close this up. And then, here's a shot of the coals. And in they go. Now, we want to see what temperature we're getting on these coals. Just dust off the ash, and this is reading, it's passing 350, it's about to hit 400. No, it's 375. Now 400. This temperature, this thermometer is much slower. Because this thermometer is at 450 now. So I want to check these coals and see what they're looking like. Okay, they don't look bad. But like I say, this thermometer is like at 160 degrees. So that's very low. So we really want to increase the heat. So I'm at a standstill for the moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to get some wood. And this wood I chopped up myself, okay, with my axe that I bought off of Amazon. My coworker Jason chopped it up with a chainsaw, and then I took the axe to it. This is a big log here. Because right now we got about 175 right here. So very low. And then if I need to get this wood going with more paper, I will. I should be able to slide it, run it right underneath the coals like I did last time to keep the wood going. So we'll see how the wood ignites, and if I have to use like an ash rake or hoe, whatever you want to call it, to move the coals closer to the cooking chamber. So we're still at under 200 degrees, but I'm going to put these ribs on now because this temperature is more than fine. It's not going to do any harm to the ribs. We want to get the temperature a little bit higher than that, but we'll throw them on at this point. You want to put them, see, it doesn't really matter. You want to get the fat on the top, but the fat looks to be fairly even. So, it's okay. And you want these to cook as evenly as possible, which means rotating them as they cook. And the wood's starting to burn. Which is excellent. But this process takes a while. You know, it really does. You got to monitor everything and, you know, check the temperatures, make sure they're good. Not too high and not too low. And it gets dirty, so you don't want to wear anything nice. You can see I'm wearing an old t-shirt. So I'll have to continue to monitor the temperature, and I'll let you know how it goes. I'll keep you posted. Okay, so now the temperature has risen, and you can see on the left side of this cooking chamber that the thermometer is at 375 degrees, which is not bad. It's a little high for low and slow and barbecue, but it's okay. Because like I say, the directions were that these St. Louis ribs can typically be grilled over smoked. In the middle, looks like this thermometer is not accurate. On the far right hand side by the smokestack, the thermometer is reading 325. And I'm going to see what we can see on the fire. Now you can see the flames right here rising up into the cooking chamber. And that's from the wood. So this stuff is hot. Let's get a... Now here's a shot of the charcoal from the side, the damper area. You can see the flames rising, of course. And the charcoal is grayish white, meaning that the lime is showing. And the lime, like I said, just shows that it's burning hot. I'm going to open this up for you so that you can get a look at the charcoal, and I can smell what seems to be lighter fluid. So I don't really like these charcoal briquettes so much when I can smell what seems to be lighter fluid. Let me smell it again. Yeah, it seems to be something metallic, but let's see, this is not hot, so I'm going to lift this up. Oh, you can see the wood's going very nicely. So that's it. Like I say, on the left-hand side of the cooking chamber, we've got almost 400 degrees. That's pretty hot. All right, so here you can see that this temperature gauge, this thermometer, is still up high. On the left-hand side of the cooking chamber, it's 400 degrees. So I actually want to see what these ribs look like. At this point, they've been going for what, 15, 20 minutes overall. And they've been going for maybe 10 minutes at a high heat. I want to take them to about 145 degrees. I like my meat cooked about medium, just a touch over medium rare, because I don't like it too rare in the middle. So I'm going to open this up, this cooking chamber. Let me set this down, and we'll see what we're working with. Okay, now these are starting to cook. They actually look good. I got to get a pair of tongs and probably flip these before long. Okay, so here's what they look like at this point. And they're starting to look good. You can really see some caramelization, the brown color, what's called the Maillard reaction. M-A-I-L-L-A-R-D. Okay, so I'm going to actually flip these. They're not sticking anymore. And I'm going to rotate them. As I said, you got to rotate them so they cook evenly. Okay, color's looking not bad. Little blonde there, as you can see. This one is darker because it was closer to the flame. So we'll let these keep going. They're a little firm. It's not exactly what you want to see. You want to be tender. But like I say, this is new to me for the most part. So we'll keep going. Okay, so I just temped these at about 150 degrees. One was 147, the other one was 157. And they've been going for about 20 to 25 minutes. You can see that the color is pretty good. The bones are more pronounced now because obviously as meat cooks, it loses water and fat, so it'll shrink. So we'll see how these turn out. The seasoning tastes good. I'm going to pull these off in just a second. Okay, so once these ribs are done cooking, your meat's done cooking, what you want to do is kill the fire, in my opinion, because that way you can save your fuel, because fire needs fuel and oxygen, if not one other component. But anyway, it needs fuel, which is going to be either wood or charcoal, and it needs oxygen in order to burn. So what we're going to do is we're going to choke off the oxygen. And that entails, just a second, let me get my glove back on, closing the damper, which is right here. We're going to close that off. And we're going to close the chimney or smokestack. Okay. The oxygen will burn up inside of the smoker, and the fire will die. So that way, hopefully, we can salvage a little bit of this wood for the next time. Here's the finished product. I don't think I have any foil to cover this to keep it warm while it rests, but I do want to do a video on resting meat as far as how much moisture it retains after it rests and settles. But that's a complex video, so I'll meet you in just a second. Okay, so these ribs, ladies and gentlemen, have rested for at least 10 minutes. Okay, and they look pretty good. Let's see, firmness. Firmness is there. Maybe more than I'd like. I'm gonna put one back into the pan here and then work on this one. And then I do want to make that potato salad and have some apple cider. But let's see here. Get right into the middle. Now, as I say, the meat does shrink because it loses water and fat. That's what it loses. And let's see. Catching part of the bone there. Oh. So, let's see. That looks pretty good. It looks to be right on point. About medium, possibly a little over. So, what let's do is let's put this one back in to the pan, and let's take off one of these ribs with my chef's knife. It's not bad. And then let's cut off a piece. Just give it a whirl. Good. It's not bad. It's good. It could use a touch more seasoning, a little salt. It's not fall off the bone tender. That's okay. Seasoning is good for Costco. Could use a little barbecue sauce, a little onion, and a little bread. So what we're gonna do, have this last nibble, and then move on to the potato salad and a little apple cider. So in terms of the potato salad, I'm going to keep this as simple as possible. It doesn't get any simpler than this. It's just going to be boiled potatoes that are then cooled down to room temperature, mixed with relish, mayonnaise, and salt and pepper, salt to taste. So it's just that simple. I'm washing them up right now. Then I'm going to get them into a pot of water. One thing that I want to say, when you're boiling potatoes or even corn or pasta, everybody says the secret is boiling water. Everybody's wrong. Now, a lot of people tell you when you do potatoes, you should do cold water, to help with the starch and stuff like that, but it doesn't matter whether you put pasta into cold water or hot water, because the point is to drench the pasta with water to where it gets waterlogged. From my perspective, maybe I'm missing something, but it has to get waterlogged in the end. It doesn't matter whether it's got to get really watery, not falling apart, but really watery. Same thing with a cold oven. Putting a frozen pizza into a cold oven is not going to break the pizza. It's not going to harm it. It's going to make it cook quicker because you don't have to wait for the oven to preheat. You wait for it to preheat. You got to wait 10 minutes for that to happen, and then another 15 minutes for the pizza to cook, or you could, which is a total of 25 minutes, or you could cut it down to 15 minutes if you put the pizza in cold. So it's just taking less time. And at the same time, if you started at a cold temperature, the pizza is going to cook, in my opinion, more evenly because it's going to gradually be brought up to temperature as opposed to starting at 425 degrees where something could more easily burn. But I'm going to stick these potatoes into the water and then we'll get these boiling. And the potatoes, you just want fork tender so that you can puncture the whole potato with the fork. So we'll see if I got the consistency right. Now I've just got some cold water running on these potatoes to cool them down quicker than just at room temperature. But I probably won't run it forever. You can also see that the skin is cracked on this potato at least as well as at least one more. And that signifies that the potatoes are pretty much cooked through. So that's another good barometer. Okay, so here I have the diced potatoes, a large dice, cube, whatever you want to call it. And one thing I want to point out is that it helps to boil the potatoes in their skins so that the meat of the potato does not absorb too much water and get soggy, waterlogged, what have you. They need to be boiled, but not totally waterlogged, fall apart, like I mentioned, even with the pasta. Okay, so I have only 3 ingredients for this potato salad. Like I said, very simple. Dill relish. Let's see, is it dill relish? Sweet pickle relish, sweet pickle relish, mayonnaise, and salt. That's probably going to be all that goes into this. And you got to go by your gut, okay? But you want it to be nice and creamy. I haven't made potato salad in forever, but this should be the recipe. So this is relish. Let's see. Then we got to go with mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is primarily egg yolks and oil. And like I said, make it nice and creamy, get a lot of mayo in there. The egg yolks and the oil make it, really rich. And we'll probably need more than that, but let's see, let's mix it up. These potatoes still seem to be warm, even after I ran them under the cold water. They're gonna need more mayo, and I believe more relish as well. So let me dust off this fork a little bit to get some more mayo into the bowl. We're getting to the end of the mayonnaise container. I think there's enough in here. And then I'm going to add a little bit of relish. That's a lot. That's the problem you run into if you don't use a fork or a spoon. But that's okay, it looks not bad. Looks not bad, looks good. Maybe even more relish. We'll see. The only thing you can do is taste it now. You won't know unless you taste, so let's try. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Excuse me, I'm gonna rinse off my hands here. Needs maybe a touch of salt. but this relish from GFS gives it a nice tangy flavor, sweet and sour. And if I add in just a touch of salt, I gotta watch this. And then mix this in. Taste it again. It's not bad. We'll leave it at that. If Stephanie wants more salt, she can go ahead and add it. So, that's the potato salad. So we have the ribs, potato salad, and apple cider that my family does almost every year or every year. So I'll try to get a plate together for a nice presentation and we'll get a shot of it. So here are the finished products. From left to right, you have the Torok apple cider. Then we have the St. Louis ribs, pork ribs, that I smoked over, grilled / smoked over charcoal and wood. I don't get a wood flavor from it. It's probably due to the mostly having charcoal and just a little bit of wood, even though the wood chunks were big. Then we have some shaved onion beside that. And of course the potato salad, which was very simple, just boiled potatoes with relish, mayonnaise, and salt. So this is a full meal, which took me quite a while. We're talking about 3 hours, but it started out about before midnight, trying to get everything accurate and correct and lined up and everything. So, but it's been fun. I'm glad that I did it, and I thank you guys very much for watching. I hope to continue this in the future. And again, today is now Saturday, September 16th, 2017. Thanks very much for watching and take care. Bye-bye.